Today we're going to learn about creating chats and channels in Telegram Expert. To do that, you have to go to the left side menu and find Create Chats, our new module. And here you see we have a bunch of settings that we should talk about. I have also prepared an account in the desktop client so we can demonstrate how this works. But we'll talk about that later. The first couple of settings are pretty self-explanatory. Number of chats or channels per one account is how many chats or channels one account creates. Then you have delay between creation, which is how many seconds it waits between creating each individual chat and channel. By the way, the recommended number of chats or channels per account is 10 to 20. You can of course test it out on your own, but that's generally how many one account can do with this module. That is unless you have premium, which, if I'm not mistaken, raises the limit to 40. Next up, we're going to name the private channel that we'll be creating. We're going to call it 1. And then you have the standard maximum wait time flood wait. This is how long an account should wait for a flood to resolve if it catches it. Then we select the account that will be creating our chat, and then we choose the type. For this run, we're going to choose private. Then we can set the group avatar, and here we can choose from our list of uploaded images. And then you have the option to set a public link or a username for the groups you create. In this case, we're creating a private channel, so we don't need it for this one, but it is an option. This, at the moment, unlabeled option allows you to send a message directly into the chat upon creation. And the message has all the same features as with sending SMS, so all of the text features, you can upload a photo or an audio file, do a repost, all that good stuff. And then we also have the option of already assigning certain usernames as administrators in this group right away. So here I'm going to put one of my other accounts as the administrator for this group, and it'll become it when we create the group. And of course, this module supports thread management. So when you're dealing with, for example, 50 accounts, then in order to cut down on processing power, you can have it only deal with a handful of them at a time, not all of them at once. And this can allow you to potentially create hundreds or even thousands of chats and channels in a matter of minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and start the task. And the first thing the module does is it connects to the proxy. And we see that it's created the chat, made a private link, set the photo. We see all of this in the program actions. And then if we go into the desktop client, we can see that we now have this private channel called 1 with the first message test. It's got our avatar that we selected. And if we go to the administrators, we see that the account we assigned is already the administrator for this group. So everything went smoothly. Now let's go ahead and make a public channel. When we do that, we have an extra setting we need to set. We need to get a list of usernames for generating public links. So here I'm going to assign a username, but the rest of the settings we can keep pretty much the same. Once again, the module connects to the proxy. By the way, you don't have to, for example, set the avatar, and you don't need to set a public link. If you don't, though, that means you'll have to fetch a private link from the database that's created after the task, which I'll show you a little bit later. And now we can take a look at our new public channel number 1, which, as you can see here, has a public link as well. And then if we take a look at the administrators, we can see that the same account is also an administrator in this group as well. Now let's go ahead and make a private chat, and just for variety, let's call it 2. But we're not going to change any of the other settings because we don't need to. So let's go. You see how the module waited 7 seconds before creating the chat. That's because we indicated the delay time to be between 5 and 7 seconds. When you're doing this for yourself, I would recommend a delay of between 10 and 20 seconds, but it's up to you. Now let's take a look at our new group, number 2, with the test message. And then we can look at the administrators. Currently, there's only 2 members in this group, the creator account and our assigned administrator. And last but not least, we're going to create a public chat, for which we are also going to have to create a username. Now you see here that we have the same username that we made for the public channel. The module is actually going to automatically add a few extra characters to the end of it when it creates the new one. So we don't have to do it ourselves. And of course, when this task is complete, all of this information will be available in the database that it creates. So we have it on hand at any time. And you see here in Program Actions that it set up everything the way that we instructed it to. So here's our new public chat. And if you look at the link, it's just like the one from the previous channel, just with a few extra characters thrown in. And once again, we have the same administrators that we assigned. Now let's look at the created databases. For example, this one. We open it up, and we see here that we have all the information on the created group. We have our group link here, all the details. So you can rest assured that all this information is saved in the database, available to you at all times, which of course is extra useful when you're dealing with hundreds of accounts and hundreds of groups. And on the off chance that the module for some reason wasn't able to create a public link, you can still fetch a private link from this database. The last thing we need to discuss is how to fill in the data for multiple groups. If you want to create, for example, 3 separate groups, the safest way to do it is to assign 3 accounts to do 1 account per group. But you'll also need to fill in all the rest of the data if you want it to be unique. So, for example, if you want each of them to have its own unique avatar, you need to put in 3 unique avatars. And if you want them to have unique usernames, you have to fill in 3 unique usernames. In other words, if you want all the information to be unique, you have to assign it in sequential order. Here, let me set it up to show you what I mean. So in this case, the way we've set it up here, the module is going to take the first name, the first avatar, the first link, that's one group. Then the second, that's a second group, etc. If in this instance you choose 3 accounts and you assign each account to make 3 groups each, what's going to happen is the first account is going to take the first name, the first avatar, and the first link and make 3 copies of those. Then the second's going to take the second name, the second avatar, the second link, and make 3 copies of those. So it's not going to randomize these values. Even if you make it 10, it's the same result. The first account is going to make 10 copies of the first name, first avatar, first link, etc., etc. But if you assign only 2 accounts to these 3 sets, then the third set just wouldn't be made. You would just have the first set of groups, the second set of groups, and then no third set of groups because there's no third account to make it. So for best results, it's best to assign as many accounts as you want there to be groups, assuming you want all of their details to be unique. On the other hand, if, for example, you still have these 3 sets, but you set 100 accounts, what's going to happen is the first 3 accounts are going to be 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, then the 4th account is going to take the first set again, the 5th account the second set, the 6th account the third set, and is going to keep cycling over those 3 until you run out of accounts. And that's everything you need to know about creating chats and channels. I hope that my explanations were clear. and I wish you the best of luck in creating your own.